Hi, my name is Neil Thrussell,
And my name is Jamie Adamchuk.
and we're really excited. Okay, I'm really excited. I don't know
Hey,
about the
I'm
rest of
excited
them.
too. I'm excited.
I'm really excited to have my friend and now Jamie's friend, Lisa Marie Platske, with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome.
Hello, welcome. Yay. I'm excited to be here. I can't tell you, this is, so Neil, I dear friend and love him to death, and Jamie, my new friend. So I get to be in conversation with you, and it's an honor and a pleasure.
Oh, thank you, but it's our honor. But I had this burning question, and I should have asked it at the beginning of our friendship, but I didn't. But what were you thinking? You left the FBI to go on business for your own. What were you thinking? Had a successful career. Everybody wants to dumpster dive for evidence.
Yeah, it's so true. And Neil, it's a great question. It's one that my family asked. It's one that everybody said, why in the world would you take a job that had a steady paycheck that came in every single week, and you got to do things that were exciting and live in an area that's exciting, and leave for as I would say, you leave six figures for no figures, because when you start in business, you have no figures, and just the excitement and all of that. And my dad used to send me a check when I first left, because he was very worried about me not making money. He'd send me a check once a month just to make sure that I was okay, which is just such a funny thing. But why I left was, the desire was exactly the same, to make a difference in the world. But why I left had to do with my personal values. It had to do with who I was as a person. And I had been in relationship with my husband. We were dating. We lived states away. And when he proposed, it was like, well, what am I going to do? And my husband and I had competing careers. So the idea of us being living, I had lived in the New York area, and he lived in DC, and then I took a transfer to Georgia. He took one to California. I took one to Texas. And so if you're familiar with the United States, you know that those aren't close. They're not close. And so I just figured I would keep doing what I was always doing. We'd see each other every 3 weeks. And a friend of mine said, people who get married usually live in the same state. And what a concept, right? What a concept. Who knew? And I hadn't really given it a lot of thought. And so I decided to quit and be still in the state of leadership and still be doing things that I loved, but being able to be there for my husband when he needed it, and be able to live the values that I had of freedom and fun and flexibility by being able to connect more with family and friends and my faith. And so none of that changed, but the forum in which I delivered it changed. And I still love, my law enforcement career, and stay in touch with many of the guys. And it was a crazy move. But one where I followed my heart instead of where the dollars were. And that was a big risk to take. And it's worked out well.
Yay! What I love about it is you followed your heart.
I did.
And and many people, especially because Jamie and I are both in the Calgary, Alberta area, it's about following the money.
Right.
So I suspect that in your illustrious careers, you're growing up, you may or may not have had any amount of failures, or things didn't quite go your way. So to get beyond those, when life was giving you lemons, what kept you moving to the next thing, the next stage? What picked you back up?
What a great question. And I would say that there have been a variety of tools that have been incredibly important along my way, and the biggest part for me has really been faith. And I have not always been somebody who has, has had great faith in, I've had a rocky journey there with my own, with my own beliefs and in challenging that there was really something that was greater than me. And I found that has been a real big piece to helping get me through. I find now that the clients that are sent to me sometimes have elements in life where they've experienced some sort of brokenness. It doesn't mean that they're broken. It just means that they've experienced brokenness. And I find that if I have to rely on my own strength, I'm just not that good. I mean, I need something that's a bigger force around me. And so having the faith, I will actually lean on, my prayer and meditation life. And I go to mass several times a week simply to have the strength beyond myself. And so having spaciousness and ensuring that I'm really resting and not feeling guilty for the fact that rest seems like I'm not efficient or effective, or I'm not using my time. So there's that element too of not feeling guilty. And so I find that my morning rituals and my rituals throughout the day, those are so important. I have 7 areas of well-being, and I check in with them throughout the day. Like physically, where am I? Do I need a glass of water? Do I need to walk around? What does my physical body need? Emotionally, when something's off and I can just tell that it's off with me, I go, okay, so where are my emotions? What do I need to do right now to really check in with, what is this that I'm feeling? And I believe so much that years ago, I used to think that if I just muscled through it, I make a mistake. It was like, gosh darn it, I'm going to beat myself up for this, and I'm going to find a way to make it work, and I'm going to muscle through it, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And now I just recognize that the emotion itself is every failure is a stepping stone to the next success. And those emotions are designed to keep me, aware and aligned. And so I check in with what that is. And then I look at, okay, so if the physical, emotional, right now, what about, where I am intellectually? Is there something I need to learn? Is that where my frustration or my disappointment is coming from? Or is it financial? Am I ignoring something, financially? Or sometimes, things wouldn't go well in business. I put my head in the sand rather than actually examining it and looking at it. Is it spiritual? Do I need to go out in nature and rely on, higher power and higher being? People doesn't matter what somebody calls it, I call it God. And so is that something that I need to turn to? Relationally, is everything in check? Is there a phone call I need to make, or is there something I need to deal with? And then my creativity. So I go through those 7 areas of well-being regularly throughout the day to do check-ins. It's part of just the ritual of being, because I can do doing really well. It's the being part that that I have to be better at.
Sweet. What you just explained is the 5th secret, and is the dojo, our internal dojo. You're talking about looking after self, because if you're not operating at 100%, then that's the energy that you're providing to the universe, to the world, to everyone else. And yeah, we all are affected when we being the individual is not operating at 100%, then that's what we're sharing with the world. And sometimes when we're not in our best operation, no one wants to be around us.
And we can't figure out why.
Yeah.
Because we're such great people. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. It's the energetics of what's happening, and then grounding yourself and making sure that you're not taking on someone else's energy, and you're not also giving all of yours away. It's such an important part to success, and it makes failure that much easier.
So I'm going to ask you to think and see if you can ask you to share an occasion where you've hit a roadblock. The door to opportunity seems to be stuck, whatever the analogy you use, and you've paused and then moved forward from this place of of discomfort or negativity, or where the door isn't letting you in, and you've risen to the occasion and it's taken you through to success?
Well, you asking me of one thing is hard. There's been a lot of doors that have shut, and I've just learned to embrace and love that every door that shuts is the right experience. I believe that everything happens in divine right timing, and the doors shutting are just as wonderful as the doors opening, because sometimes it's just not the path that I'm supposed to go down at the time. And to think about some really major experiences, I had 10 years ago, I did my first event, and I was really looking forward to the event, and I was very excited about.
10 years ago, you must have been 12.
You're funny. You're so funny.
Sorry, continue.
Thank you. That reminds me when I was teaching at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, and somebody raised their hand and said, "How old are you?" And this was 20 years ago, and I was like, "Dude, I'm in the middle of teaching a communications class, and this is what's on your mind. Relax." I'm like, "I've been on the job 10 years. Settle down." So anyway, that's
okay. Sorry, I derailed you.
So sidebar. So I was doing this event 10 years ago, and I really felt called to do it. And I had invited people to come on stage and speak, and I had invited people, and there were 80 people in the room. And at the end, I remember just this incredible feeling of disappointment, because I had my head in the sand about the financials. And so the door that closed was a door that ended up closing because, for me, with my business, I did not plan properly. And I ended up having to I remember sobbing at the end of the event, having to go to my husband and telling him, this great business idea of mine was a failure, and I was going to have to take out a loan or borrow money in order to be able to pay for the expenses. And what strikes me about me thinking about the doors that closed because of the choices that I made is that I went to the place of, there's something wrong with me. I should have been smart enough for this. And that didn't, as you say, then that energy, it didn't attract more clients. It didn't attract more opportunities. It attracted more sorrow and weeping throughout the course of the next several weeks. And my husband finally had a conversation with me and said, don't do it. Walk away from the business and just don't do it. And I remember this piece of, but this is what I'm called to do. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And he said, then if you're supposed to be doing it, then go do it. But stop having this conversation, get a job or do something or do nothing, but this constant conversation every night about how I'm a failure and I should be smart enough and I should have figured this out and I should have known this and I should have and I should have and I should have and I should have. And so I just remember that door closing, on the event and on the experience and on everything, and recognizing how what a turning point it was for me, and in being able to say, okay, I get it, and every failure can lead to something bigger and better. And what's interesting is I had an experience, and Neil, I'll pause there because I want to. There's just so many stories of things that I certainly am not going to claim that I'm the failure coach, but I will say that it is all of those experiences that have led to great joy and have taught me great lessons. So,
Yeah.
and there's more. And there's more.
What we, as we've gone through all of these interviews, what we're just learning from all of these successful people, their success is paramount on the total catastrophes and failures that they have had. The bigger the failure, almost the greater success. And what is interesting is, what is the motivation to pick yourself up?
Ooh, I think it's the internal, that desire to be, for me, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but for me, it's the desire to be able to make a difference. It's interesting that on Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization is a need. It's not a want. And so human beings want success and happiness and meaning. And I'm no different. Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, gee, I hope it doesn't work out for me today. I really hope today I get it wrong. I really hope today's my biggest failure ever. Nobody. That desire to be able to make a difference, to have an impact, to have influence, to be able to change one life. I mean, it's one of my favorite poems from Ralph Waldo Emerson, to know that one life has breathed easier because I have lived. That is success. And, it moves me to tears. It just moves me to tears because it is the reason why, for every 7th time I fall, there's the 8th time that I get up and do it all over again. Years ago in federal law enforcement, things weren't working out so well for me. I couldn't figure out why I was trying so hard, and I knew that I was smart and I was really pushing hard. And the guys on the New York piers did not like to work with me. I was not if somebody got paired up with me, they did not like to work with me. And I recognize now, I can see it. But what was interesting is I went to a leadership training class. And in the leadership training class, they gave us all sorts of assessments. And they're assessments and tools that I use now with clients. And I couldn't see what the assessment could see, right? So that's the purpose of an assessment, is that somebody who reviews it sees. Yeah. And the instructor stood over me in this room filled with all leaders from the New York metropolitan area in this interpersonal behavioral skills assessment and said that I had scored a 0. You can't get much lower than a 0. And she said, if Lisa invites you to do something and you say yes, she doesn't really want you to have said yes. And if you invite her to do something and she shows up, she's really secretly wishing she could be someplace else. And I thought, ouch, I might be really strong and tough, and I might be smart and right, but I'm going to be alone and dead in this job. And rather, that could have been the failure that broke me in that career, and I ended up being the fastest promoted officer. And the reason why is because I learned about connection and I learned about positioning, and I was willing to look at that and go, okay, how can I make it better? And so I believe that desire to make a difference is so, so, so great in human beings. And yet, in saying that, I recognize that there's people who don't get up, right? I recognize that for some people that is a challenge. But when you differentiate those who are the most successful, I believe it's the innate desire to push beyond that, to recognize that their own needs, desires, wants, while important, are only the means to be able to teach and guide and help others in the world in order for the world to be a better place. So
thank you. So, and also thank you for being so vulnerable. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the space to do that.
You're welcome. So Jamie's been pretty quiet, so I'm going to...
I do have a couple questions here. And again, we really want to honor you for really being this vulnerable, really letting everyone see that side of you, understanding how you came from there, how you made those decisions and choices, and how much your values played a role in your life, how you were guided by your values to make the decisions that you did to get to that place with your husband, to leave the FBI. I mean, that's incredible, incredible insight. Along with the values, is there one of the D's of desire, determination, dedication, and discipline that really stands out for you? Which one do you see yourself following most or being the most attracted to?
That's a great question, because I think that the one that I run away from is discipline.
Ooh.
And it's the one that gives me the most freedom. Freedom comes through discipline. The structures and the setting things up and taking consistent action and having the discipline to do so is the element that frightens me the most and gives me the most freedom. If that, I'm not sure if that, how clear I am on that. I just know for myself, it's that, that element of understanding that when you create a plan and when you identify the elements that are most important for you to continue to take action on, you receive so much freedom from it. And yet, I love all the 4 Ds. I mean, the idea of desire and really understanding how clear it is, that the clarity that you have for what it is that you desire, understanding why something is important, understanding who you are, what you want, and why it matters, has been huge. And then of course we talked about, continuing to stay the course and having that determination. So it's hard. I would say that the one that stands out most is the discipline piece, simply because it's the one that scares the bejesus out of me most.
That's really exciting, because I heard a saying that life happens at the edge of your comfort zone.
Right.
That's when life actually starts to take place. So being that it gives you that scare, what, if I'm going to do this, I've got to stick to it. I've got to have this discipline behind it to make sure that happens. And that I would hallucinate that motivates you, that juices you, excites you to keep that moving forward. With respect to discipline, how has that played a role in your current business?
In my current business? Well, I find that the more that I create those rituals that I spoke about, even rituals that include spaciousness, even rituals that include taking time off, and it's still a discipline to say, what do I need? I went this week, this year I took myself to a 1-week silent retreat. Okay, being in silence at a monastery for 5 days. And
what were you thinking?
I asked myself that in the first hour. So, it was, and I didn't drive myself there. I actually hired somebody to take me there because I didn't want to have an out I wasn't sure that I would stay. It was really the truth. And so, recognizing that even being able to set myself up to have that discipline, to be able to say, I'm going to do this because I understand the uncluttered mind will allow me to be able to come back and be able to give even more to my family, my friends, my clients, those that I love most. And so in my business, I think that discipline is even that right there, cancel clear, right? Is a daily practice.
Yeah.
And some days I do really well at it. Some days I wake up, I have my morning meditation, I have my bedroom yoga, I have everything's in alignment. People should be taking notes on me. I'm so good. And the next day, something happens, and all the things that I said that I was going to do. I mean, I challenged my clients to a health challenge. Here's discipline, 100 days. We're going to do no sugar, exercise every day. You're going to read your commitment, your why, your desire, why you desire to be healthy. And, you're going to do 21 minutes of self-care every day. That doesn't involve like something else, right? So I believe very much in this. And on day 50, all of a sudden, ended up with an injury, no exercise, ended up deciding the milkshake looked really good, and ended up, and then it took me a week to get myself back into this scheme. So it's not so much that it's fail proof. It's just simply that discipline is, in order to work, it has to happen every day.
Yeah. And part of what I love the term discipline. It's one that juices me. But when people need to recognize is when they do fall off the proverbial wagon, don't beat yourself. Just go and move on and start back up again. Simple as that. And I'm saying the world, because all of us just pick ourselves up right quickly, the three of us. There's no tears, there's no chocolate, there's no ice cream, and we just pick ourselves back up and we go. And that's trust me, that's the way I deal. I'm training for a marathon. I got sick on Sunday and I couldn't do a long run. I had a pout because I couldn't do a run. Right. But I'm sitting here, I'm getting sick and I'm pouting. But it was like, okay, there's nothing I can do about it. Well, I could have gone and running, then I would really screw up my body.
Right.
So thank you. So every successful person I know always has the next. What are they going to do next? What is it that's out there that is scaring them? It's like when Jamie and I talked about putting on a summit, that was something that scared us. We're already talking about doing another one and moving a completely different genre to scare us. But what is for you? What is the next? What is the next reach that's just outside for you?
That's a great question. And I think it ties into what Jamie had just spoken about with regards to you've got the comfort zone, staying out of it. And I find that when I start to get too comfortable, it's like, and things are working really well, while it feels somewhat good, that there's a concern, because it's what is next, because that means that my gifts are lying dormant, or I'm not pushing those boundaries and ensuring that I'm on that edge of always comfortable discomfort. And so for me, what I've recognized, a big piece of my work has been that I always thought that I was supposed to be the trainer, the speaker, the person who is doing the work. And I recognize over the past year that my role is to be able to be the giver of the gifts so that other people can shine, and with the end goal of them outshining me in a way that can really have a global impact. And so the clients that I have been working with, it's been to have them, of course, push themselves out there. And so some of them are working in the field of changing law enforcement and what the face of law enforcement looks like. And obviously, since I've been in that background, I have some knowledge and expertise in there. Some are in outdoor education, government contracting, in their own unique fields, positioning their expertise so that they truly are making a difference within their own field, and done this now for a little bit over 20 different fields. And so it's being able to say, how can those people truly be thought leaders within their industry? Because it's really not incumbent upon me. I'm not willing to bear the weight of, being the person who's the sole expert. And so that's been something that I've been working on to ensure that I have an annual event, my Design Your Destiny Live event, that I alluded to, that it was a nightmare, not a nightmare, it was a beautiful event, but it was just a financial disaster and a disaster on other levels 10 years ago. And that event has been something that I have been working on growing and attracting the right people in. And in doing that, I recognize that these trailblazers and these thought leaders come together, and I had kept it small because that was my comfort zone. And
Yes.
so now, as it's, we have over 100 people registered for January, it's like, oh my gosh, we're like months out, and we're going to be well sold out before the time comes. And these are people who are already making a difference in their own right and are moving from success to significance. So perhaps that was more than you had wanted, but I really see this as how do other people get their genius out in the world? And I really see you doing that, Jamie and Neil, with regards to a summit like this, where you're touching lives, and the world is hurting, and it needs more people to have honest conversations, and conversations that are ones that bring value and really love and healing, and at the same time that can still balance out the need for the finances and all the other accoutrements that come with business and a happy life. So I appreciate that and really honor the work you're doing.
Thank you. So far, my dad is signed up, and Jamie's mother-in-law. That's it. No, we've got no more. I don't know. We haven't looked at the list lately. So thank you. So I'm back to my 19-year-old self, and I'm just starting out in life, and I have this vision. What would you offer me, or how would you encourage, entice me, cattle prod me, whatever way to be success, to embrace and live to my full potential?
19, huh?
Yeah.
19.
Give up the beer. No. Yeah. It's an unfair question, but it's a beautiful question.
It's a beautiful question. It is a beautiful question. And there's just so much that's running through my mind, and not just one thing. Just it's a long list of me thinking about where I was then. The first thing that comes to mind is the world is a friendly place.
Ooh.
And that everything in the universe is conspiring for your greatest good. And things happen for you, not to you. And with things happening for you, recognizing it and seeing the world through that lens, and trusting that all happens in divine right timing, that the more you are, the more that you recognize that everything in your life can be used for good. There's no part of you or your story that will ever be not good. I mentioned the idea of people can sometimes experience brokenness. It doesn't mean that they're broken. And as somebody who has grown up with a lot of domestic violence in their background, and having called the police almost every week as a child, there's the element that people end up with scars and thinking there's something wrong with them that they can't show to the world. Failures they've had, things that have gone wrong, whether you're talking something physical like a speech impediment, or something that is somebody's been told that is not acceptable. And yet those are the things that have the ability to really move others. And so I would definitely say that comfort doesn't change the world, and vulnerability changes everything.
Sweet. Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
So a lot to say to that. I could write books to that 19-year-old. And none of it has to do with a beard. grow that beard.
Okay. Jamie, anything?
You know what? Nothing to add right now, because it's been so much, just so great information coming out. It's all there. It's a matter of going and process it. Most importantly, though, I want to thank you and honor you for your time. And thank you for coming on with us here and sharing these beautiful, incredible insights. These are the steps that it takes to make a difference in the world, to get this message out there, to share that vision of hope, that vision of possibility, allow yourselves to be vulnerable. Because when you are, that's when you grow. Step over that edge of comfort. Step out of your comfort zone into the unknown and experience life like you never have before. That's really what I get out of this. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. What a great summary.
I just want to say thank you for being part of this summit, and thank you for saying yes so quickly and so easily. I love you lots, and I look forward to when we actually can give each other a real hug other than a virtual hug.
It'd be wonderful.
Yeah, so love you lots, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.